Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. Hopefully you guys can hear and see me okay. And if you can use the comments to let me know that, that would be great. Someone just chime in and let me know. It usually is a little bit of a delay. I'm actually watching this on my phone while I'm doing this. Let's see. Oh, we hear and see you. Hey, Ann, that's great. Hey, guys, any and all comments or questions are welcome. Really great to see. I'm looking at the number of people waiting and watching, and that's good. Great to see. There's looks like there's quite a few new people in here too, and that's a wonderful thing. Use your comments all you'd like, guys. Um, I had some really good live webinars the last couple of times, so I'm excited about it. Hoping you guys can come in with some really good questions. And hey, don't be afraid to try to stump us. Jeff is here too. He's just on as a moderator, so he's in the background. But any and all questions are just fine. Looks and sounds good here, says Cheryl. That's fantastic. All right. Couple of things I'd say to you guys that have changed recently. One is definitely if you're not already subscribed to the channel, because we tend to give updates here first, and then we'll load the video updates onto Facebook and even sometimes TikTok, just to get them out there. But YouTube's probably the best place to see any kind of updates that we're going to put out, and that's going to be important for you guys going forward. And we've really started to concentrate on shorts. So they're really quick, typically a minute to a minute and a half videos, sometimes up to about 2.5, but they're really quick. They're very one note. In other words, it's dealing with one situation or one question we've gotten. But those tend to have a lot of impact. And we've had some really good feedback from those. We're still going to be doing the videos like we did in the past, 2.5 to 10 minutes long. Obviously, we have the 1 hour long free training on the website. You can see that on the banner here. There's a free 1 hour overview training. If you guys haven't started with us, it's an in-depth look at it. It's obviously not contracts and the stuff people get when they purchase, but it's a great overview training. There's a couple free lists on there to give you an example of what's out there, real video testimonials, and of course we got some programs on sale right now. Anthony Thomas says, "Good evening, Sean." Good evening, Anthony. We have 3 deals coming in, and I'm afraid, guys, I'm getting used to this new streaming software, so I'm afraid to get over without double checking. But 3 checks came in that should be ready to be dispersed by Wednesday of next week. Beeson file, Steve Beason. There's also, oh Lord, Addison, which was a Florida file. You'll know who you are out there that's a researcher on that. And then the last one, I can't really remember the name. I will be reaching out tomorrow. Going to be traveling a lot over the next couple of days, but I will have my computer with me, and I'll check in as much as possible. There we go. Abdul says, the training online really helped me a lot and is largely responsible for my first accepted file. Yay. That's great, Abdul. Welcome aboard. Now, guys, another thing for those of you guys that bought, because I know that I'm getting a lot of this feedback recently, and that is, hey, Sean, I bought a while ago, didn't get started. We get a lot of that. Life comes up and they don't get started for a year or two. And I want to get rolling. I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, whatever. There's no deadline on using the system. But do yourself a favor, read the ebook, the PDF for the program that you got twice for comprehension. If there is a file example, that can help you greatly depending on the program. There's also a glossary or index, basically definition of terms in there. Get familiar with it. You don't have to, it can also be used as a reference. You don't have to memorize the whole thing, And then and only then would I watch the video that's on the resources page linked from your ebook, because you're really going to learn by reading, guys. That's the main thing. And don't be afraid to turn something in. Worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to, hey, you messed up. You forgot to fill out the conclusion page. You forgot to give us the deed of the owner, the last owner prior to the sale. You forgot to give us the deed from the sale. There's, whatever it is, we're going to tell you what the issue is. and you can always resubmit. So don't be afraid to start, you know. Abdul, that was me. LOL. I bought almost 2 years ago. Believe me, Abdul, it's not just you. I bought almost 2 years ago and I'm finally getting started. The online training was easier to understand and follow for me. I understand. It's a really good overview. The training in the ebook is designed to take you through more of a step by step. But that 1 hour training on the website is a great overview. Obviously, you don't have contracts and that kind of stuff. That's reserved for people that came on board and purchased our program. Are going to partner up with us, or when they buy the full ebook anyway, that teaches them how to do it on their own. Um, but it's a really good overview. I mean, there's thousands of views of that, and I know why. It's people are watching it 2 or 3 times because it's a great overview to watch. Do you need to watch that if you have the ebook? No, but some people, like Abdul, find that that works a little bit better, and that's absolutely. I don't care how you learn, guys. If you apply the system as it's written, you will learn it. But if you want to also use some of the other resources we have, that's absolutely fine. Speaking of which, like I said, you really need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is where we launch stuff first. We give first indications of any changes. We announce things like these live webinars. This is going to be an important place to go. And then we also have a Facebook page. It's all Surplus Funds Riches, all one word. That's Facebook, that's TikTok, that's our YouTube channel. I believe it may even be Instagram and X. So just check us out on everything you can, all the different social medias. Frank, still working through my first submission. It is tougher than I thought when it comes to doing the research. So, Frank, again, I think people overcomplicate it because let's be honest here. Here's what happens. So you need to get a list. That's not difficult. Obviously, the easiest to find list can be found by other people. That's why we have our active files list online, so you can make sure that you're not going to work a list that we already have. But you can still find plenty of lists. When you're researching debt, it's very particular and really laid out well. Okay, really laid out extremely well. But here's the thing: it's not that difficult. Okay, you're searching by the last owner's name. All right. We tell you to also go to the tax department, tax assessor's office, because I can make sure that you have the actual last owner too. But anyway, last owner, you're searching by that name. You want to go to the tax. For me, I like going to the tax assessor's office first because you can get a PIN, parcel ID number, or a shortened legal description, so you know that the owner didn't own 4 different homes. You can find the home that was actually foreclosed on. That's the only one that matters, right? So you're going to do that. Most people only own one home in the area. You're going to put that in chronological order and just find out, when did they buy it? Listen to me, Frank. When did they buy it? Get that deed. When did they get the property? The last owner prior to the sale. When did they lose it? Make sure that lines up. When did the deed get transferred at the sale, foreclosure, right? Okay. Now you have the beginning and the end. All you're looking for is what's in the middle. You're looking for, all right, they probably had a mortgage when they first got it, but not everybody does. A lot of people are hilarious. They go, oh my God, I was going to turn this in, but I didn't see any debt. Hey, sometimes people buy it cash, but otherwise you'll see a mortgage right after the deed was transferred, or right at the same day, rather. And just watch and just, okay, this was a mortgage in 95. What happened to that? Oh, look, it was satisfied in 2005 and another mortgage was taken out. Well, that's because they refinanced the house. Okay, that was taken care of 2015. And I'm just going to note this down in the title work. It's not that hard, Frank. And I'm not making fun of you. And I understand that I've been doing this a long time and it's easier for me to say that. But at the same time, promise you're overcomplicating it. You put it in chronological order. Boom. When did the debt come on board? If there was debt, did it get canceled? Okay, what happened? Did another piece of debt, or was it added or replaced? Refinanced? Okay, that's here. Was that paid off? Was that okay? Great. Everything's paid off. We don't have to worry about it. All the money's due to the owner. Oh no, there's a $30,000 home equity line of credit HELOC loan. Okay, but there's 70 in surplus, so we got 40 that we can go after because the 30 of it's going to the HELOC loan, right? I mean, it's really not as hard as a lot of people make. And again, not making fun, just take it easy and you'll get it if you really, I am listening to you. You got it, Frank. I'm so, I was being, anyway. Briscoe Ventures, greetings. Deed Flip 30. Can we use the list that Jeff has for sale? So the list that's on surplusfundslists.com, which I think was just updated, That's of surplus funds. That has nothing to do with the deed flip. Um, Deed flip 30 and deed flip, national deed flip, you're going after pre-foreclosure properties. It is so flippin' easy to get lists of upcoming sales. I mean, honestly, it is crazy easy. If you've got that program already, or national deed flip 30, you're going to have to find the people and call them. Okay. But national deed flip, you do not. You get 15% instead of 30 of whatever we make. But you don't have to find them or call them or mail them. So, Briscoe Ventures. I don't know if you've already bought that program. If you have, read it because it'll tell you where to get the list, and it's not hard. Um, yeah, and I do it that way. If you're trying to buy something prior to buying a program, I'd get the program first. Donna, has your staff grown with the increase in sales and partnerships? Absolutely. Abdul, I don't know if we've started the Q&A portion yet. Yep, we have. But if I have, for Florida tax, okay. So Abdul, you're asking about a Florida question. I'm assuming you have the Florida program because our national surplus funds program, we don't work North Carolina. You can't get a list. You need our panning system for that because you have to be able to estimate because North Carolina won't give you a list. So we don't work North Carolina with the national. We don't work Colorado because we don't want to. DC is just horrible to work, that area, that municipality. Okay. And then Florida is a different system. Florida is has its own program. So if you have the program, let me answer that as if you do. If you don't, we're not going to take submissions from Florida if you don't have the Florida program. Um, but if we have for Florida tax, is the county foreclosing or the person entity holding the tax deed certificate? The county forecloses on their behalf. Let me see what Jeff says. Oh yeah, he's talking about something else. He's saying the same thing about what the list is. Hey Sean, been working the national for a couple months. And after reading it more than twice and doing the example file, I totally get it now. Just waiting on a file to be accepted. Awesome. So, Anthony, yeah, you got to keep rolling with it. And one of the things, guys, so we meter people when they first start. You turn in a file. One of two things is going to happen. It's going to get accepted, and you have access to our active files list, so you see it within a few days on the accepted files list. If it's not accepted because there was an issue, something wasn't filled out correctly, the whatever the conclusion page, you forgot to fill out this, that, or that, whatever it is that you did incorrectly, we will tell you so you can resubmit it. Now, the reason that's so important is occasionally we do have two people that kind of bump into each other in an area, and the person who gets credit is the first one that sends it in correctly. So that's why we say, hey, resubmit the whole thing, because what we cannot do is take a file that's wrong. And first of all, we're not going to fix it for you. That's kind of your job, right? But we're not going to take a file that's wrong and put it up on a shelf somewhere just to have it there. Now we're going to do what? Put that in alphabetical order and wait for it to be resubmitted. What if it's not resubmitted? We can't hold the position, is what I'm saying. So we wait for it to be submitted correctly, and the first one to do that gets credit for that. And it took us a while to figure all this out. We've been doing this a long time. We used to do kind of a reservation thing where you'd give us the file name and we check to make sure we didn't have it because we didn't give you access to our active files list. Now we update that active files list Monday through Friday, and you have access. So you can kind of tell what's there, you know? You can kind of tell what's there and go, okay, I get it. Now that one they already have. I'm not going to waste my time researching on that one, or this one they don't have, whatever. And one of the things that I want to bring up with you guys, I want to touch on a couple things for those of you guys that are, I think I saw a couple names in here, folks that are actually working it on your own. And that's great too. You're obviously clear to ask questions too. We're here for you. Um, but one of the questions I got was, is there anything coming up in the shorts or in the videos, additional information coming up on your channel, your YouTube channel, that deals with handling folks like objections and that type of thing? This coming week, you really need to pay attention. Really good. I've got the ask, don't tell. I mean, I'm sorry, not ask, don't tell. Don't ask a question. Tell them the answer, and then they'll. It's you got to watch the video to get the gist of it. But by telling people or making a statement instead of asking a direct question, it becomes a conversation, and they're going to either correct you or agree with you. So it's kind of interesting. That's a great technique. Obviously, the takeaway is the strongest thing on the planet. You just, at a certain point, you just say, hey, I understand that you're not, this sounds like we're not going to come together. And I respect that. I appreciate your time and hope that you have a great day. And it's pretty much done. Abdul, just want to double check. In Florida, surplus is the only program working right now until I get it right. That's cool. If the ex owner is a married couple, does the minimum surplus amount remain the same? I don't care if there's 10 people on the deed, Abdul, it's the same. Okay. Now, having said that, if it was 10 people, we'd have to get a lot of them under contract to make it come up to where we need it to be. But all you got to worry about is what's the minimum, and don't worry about the number of people on a deed. Just make darn sure you put the correct donor as it's done in that example on the conclusion page. And guys, this is something I really need to put out there. We started taking files, and it used to be we'd take a file and then we go, hey, sorry, we'd let you know if the owner or owners died, and we would not work it because we didn't have the network set up to handle that. Well, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we started working airship files, and man, now it's making up a huge portion of what we do. Well, a lot of people they'll turn in a file, and what we want on our paperwork, who was the last owner before the sale? Okay. That's who we need. And that's the last owner, the deed holder. People will add, oh, but I know she's married, so I'm going to add his name to the file. That's not the last deed holder. We need the last deed holders. And then the other thing they'll do is they'll go, oh, well, John died. I just went ahead and looked up the obituary. John died and Mary's alive, but I think Mary has 2 kids. And in the obituary, it's, hey, you know what? That's our problem. We can't, and this is going to sound horrible, we cannot trust what you're doing. We use really good systems, and I have an insanely good crew. Okay. We don't want you to do the extra work because we throw it out because we can't trust it because we didn't do it. It's not that we don't trust you. It's that we can't trust anybody's work. We have to assume that we have to do this ourselves. We're going to look up the obits. We've got 3 different insanely good skip tracing systems that we use that will tell us if they're deceased, give us their possible relatives and associates, and we're going to call and we're going to find out and double check everything. And if we have if we're worried about anything at all, we are also going to get the attorney to call them. So we're going to get it straight. Joseph says, if a property was inherited, do I need to research the previous owner for mortgage and cancellations? That's a great question, Joseph. So here's the thing. Read the deed. If it was inherited, and the reason you know that is because there was a deed transferring it to the heirs, usually following a will. Okay. Sometimes an estate or probate case is what comes up with that. But if you see a deed that usually it'll actually say it's a deed having to do with an estate. If you see that, see if it says anything about debt. Okay. Typically, it will tell you if there was debt. But if that's really not mentioned, then yes, check the deceased name for any mortgages too and cancellations to make sure that you're clear. Joseph, that's probably going to be one of the best questions this evening. I appreciate that. Abdul, okay, thank you. Abdul, when the last deed holder is deceased, okay, and we know it because the title report says it. Now, okay, wait. I'm going to kind of break this down. And we know it because the title report says it. Okay. At that point, Abdul, I'm going to stop and say, you turn in the deceased name. If you want to make a little note in the file, hey, I think this guy's deceased, check the title report that was done by the state or by the county, because you're working in Florida, is what you're talking about. That's fine. You can make a note to that effect. Now let's keep going. Should we let you know on the chain of title worksheet that the last deed holder is in fact dead? I would make a note in there that says, hey, the title work said. So Florida, the counties actually do the title work for you. It's kind of unbelievable. And Florida, by the way, is on sale by itself for the next, I don't know, couple days a week. We never sell that by itself. It's usually available only in bundles, but it is actually available right now for $4.97. And In the tax side, the tax foreclosure side, the overages, they publish the title work for you, so you can literally transcribe that information onto our worksheet. You don't have to research the debt and the tax side. They've done it for you. They've checked title, they've checked ownership and debt, and they've listed it. Um, Having said that, in this instance, Abdul, I just make a note of it, and I would include that title report with it, and that should keep us straight. But from there, we'll take care of it. Great question, man. We're getting really good questions. Since I don't have one in front of me right now, another thing that came up this week. I like sharing real stories because it teaches a little bit better, I think. Um, got two sisters, Yolanda and Anna. May or may not be their real names. Yolanda, Anna had power of attorney for Yolanda and just insisted financial power of attorney and just insisted, hey, I need to handle this for her. Don't call her. Okay, I'm not doing that. All right. I need to know why. If you're not going to tell me why, then I need my case manager to talk to the person you have power of attorney for, because the red flags are just popping up all over the place at this point, right? So she says, all right, I'm going to tell you the truth. Yolanda is applying for Medicaid, and she's afraid that if she takes this money, she's going to lose that, or that's going to become part of the money that they can take. And I'm like, so my case manager said she didn't know she was getting the money anyway. Okay. And Anna said, maybe you could have her give the money to me. And we said, look, we're going to run this by our attorney. We're not going to be complicit in Medicaid fraud. That's just not going to happen. And she said, okay. So we checked. And the attorney was like, absolutely not. And I want her, not only do I now want her signature on all the paperwork, but I'm probably going to type something special where she knows that she has to report it to Medicaid, and we will find a way to report it to Medicaid. And it looks like Yolanda said, fine, we'll do that, because she was talking to her case person, and it's a lot of money. It's 40 grand. I mean, um, use it while you can. Heck, go blow it on some stuff. I don't care what you do with it. I don't know what the legal ramifications are, but there's no reason to leave the money behind. And if you've got like a surgery coming up that'll can't, who cares if it's going to be your surplus that is going to cover it, or if it's going to be, seriously, do you follow me? So that's kind of where we were. And it does look like she's going to sign. So it's good. Hey, Sean, do you know of another merge file we can use other than PDFs? Hey, Anthony, if you haven't already, great question. Go to the support tab on the website, surplusfundsriches.net. Click on support. There's question and answers in there. Jeff actually gave you guys like a rundown of how to use a system that he's used before, and it's right on there. John, if a listing is about 3 years old, is it reasonable to assume there are no current mortgage claims or debts? Absolutely not, John. First, look, it is not reasonable to assume anything. Okay. And the listing is 3 years old. I have no idea what you mean by that. Is the list that you got 3 years? First of all, if the list that you got is 3 years old, get an updated list. Okay. Now, if you're saying you have a list, but it's a surplus funds amount that's been on there for 3 years, even though it's currently updated, that's a different animal. But absolutely not. You don't know if a mortgage or a home equity line of credit was paid off. You have got to you can't assume that stuff. That's crazy. You don't know if there's an IRS tax lien. You don't know, right? M. Falcon, hey Sean, how's it going? It's good. Ask the question, Mr. Falcon. All right, hold on. I got back up to Abdul. This question may be silly, but is the amount foreclosed on considered the opening bid? Jeff, I'm going to let you answer that. My gut is saying yes. Okay. Because I think he's talking, guys, listen, Abdul's asking a lot of questions about Florida. Florida's a little different than the national. Don't assume that his questions are going to apply to Florida. I'm not, it's all okay. I'm just telling you, don't assume that, because I think his stuff is Florida centric, and you have to remember that. Shalani, hey, I remember you from last time, I believe. Hey, Sean, hope you're doing well. Just recently got my first 3 files and offloaded 21 more. Wow. I appreciate your team's patience dealing with the mistakes I make, and my number one goal is to reduce kickbacks. Hey, no problem. You got So what happened with you? I know about you because the young lady that handles impact, not impacting. I'm sorry, doing data entry on our end, Monday through Wednesday. The lady that handles that, okay, she was she said, "There's this guy, and he hit three, and now he's going really fast, but he kind of messed up on a couple." She goes, "But I'm happy that he's working so hard, so I'm gonna, I'm being really nice about it." But yes, you had made some kind of, and I'm not making fun, but you'd made some kind of silly mistakes, like wrong address, address transposed or whatever, and that type of thing. Just take your time, brother. I get that you're excited, okay, and we're excited to have you on board because you're working so daggone hard, and that was amazing. I think you turned in like 17 or something in a day or something crazy after you hit your three. Um, and thank you for that and welcome aboard. But yeah, just take your time, you'll be good. Abdul says, "Will do, thanks." Relationship Dumb is the name on here. Is it better to work redeemable deeds, tax deeds, tax liens, or mortgage foreclosures, or does it not matter? So I think you're talking about, is it better to, when you say redeemable deeds, I'm assuming you mean, is it better to work in an area that has a post-sale redemption period? Okay. Um, there's no problem with that. Georgia has something like that. Okay. There's a couple of states that have post-sale redemptions, Tennessee. Um, you typically have to wait until the redemption period is up in order to get paid the surplus funds that was created. So that's the downside to that. Tax deeds, they're great. Tax liens, you're not working. It has to actually sell at a tax sale. You Tax liens do not create an overage. Or mortgage foreclosures. Mortgage foreclosures are great too. Tax and mortgages are both very good. Just work whatever you get a list for because our program works on both. So the short answer you said, or does it matter? It kind of doesn't. Um, that's the short answer. M. Falcone, I'm in Egypt, Africa. Can I do your National Surplus Funds program or any of your programs? Yes. Now, here's the deal. You are not going to be able to do the surplus funds game completely on your own. And I'll tell you why. You're not going to be able to get a skip tracing system, a people finder system that you're going to be able to work. They want you to be in the United States or to have an office in the United States. And they've got to be able to see that office, make sure that it's got lockable files, that type of thing. And you need to have a bank. This is for if you want a skip tracing system. Okay. It's a system to find people. And you're going to need that, guys. They're in the wind. They're living in the car. It's not easy to find these people all the time, right? So you're not going to be able to get that out of the country unless you have an office here and you have a bank account in your business name, in a business name, not an individual name. It can be an LLC or a DBA, whatever, but it has to be a business name with a bank account. And there has to be an office in the US, in the States, that they can search. Having said that, you could work our national surplus, the partnership portion of that, and send it into us, and we can work it from there. However, you're going to need to have a virtual private network, a VPN. There are free ones out there, and there's some ones that aren't free. The reason is able to search the counties not only to get lists, but also to research debt in the Register of Deeds or Land Records Department. You can't come up as an Egypt or an Egyptian search. You're going to need a virtual private network so that it kind of fools that so you can search that. And I don't think there's anything illegal about that. So, Shalani, I get overzealous and forget. I'm dyslexic sometimes, but my apologies. Hey, there's a little bit of that in my office, so don't worry about it. When payouts start clearing, first thing I'd like to do is get a mentorship. So thanks. You really don't need it, Shalani. I'm serious. A lot of people we're happy to take your money. Don't get me wrong, but unless once you get it really down and maybe you're starting to do it on your own, where the mentorship really comes into play, in my opinion, is if you're growing a team and you're doing it on your own. That's where I think the mentorship is very important. But at this stage, absolutely not. I wouldn't worry about it. And again, just take your time. You're good, brother. We're happy to have you on board. Rick, I've had nearly 60 files on the files being since mid-December. Okay, I haven't heard nothing. Am I doing something wrong or am I missing something? So I would reach out to me, Rick, on the side because, yeah, I would have thought that something would have come together for you. Obviously, we don't put everything together that's turned in, but go ahead on surplusfundsriches.net. Reach out to me. There's probably something under contract, I would imagine, but maybe not. Reach out, and it's teambougie@gmail.com. But there's also an email address on the website. All right, guys, I'm getting close to wrapping this up. I don't see any more questions right now. Rick Bovinet. Huh. Falcone, you've answered all my questions. Thanks. My other question, can I have a partner who is in the US to bypass having an LLC and whatnot? Okay. So your partner is going to, if you're doing it on your own, if you're doing it as a partner, you don't have you don't have to have an LLC, and I can pay you wherever. I can pay you outside of the country. I don't care. Okay, I can send international wires as long as I know who you are. We're good, and you don't have to have an LLC or anything else. Now, if you're going to do it on your own, M. Falcone, if you're going to do it on your own, then you are going to need to have someone in the US in order to have a subscription to a good people finder system. So that's what I would, you still don't need an LLC, but if you're doing it on your own, I wouldn't do it in LLC, to be frank with you. That's up to your tax situation. We really don't get into that. Me personally, I like having a subchapter S corporation. I think that's best for me. That might not be what's best for you. Hey guys, looks like nothing else. And Shalani says they understand. Looks like I got nothing else new coming in. I very much appreciate you guys coming, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks.